The Breakdown, POLI-TRICKS, with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies, telling you what you need to know regarding politics, breaking it down, POLI-TRICKS. Okay, this is the part of the podcast where you can go ahead and take your potty break. Go ahead and go outside and smoke your cigarillo. Go and get you a beverage or a snack. Because once the podcast officially starts, the discussion forum, you're going to really want to stay in place and stay in tune into what's going on. As Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies breaks it down regarding everything that happened within the past week and its impact on you and yours. Crazy world right now. We call this Trumpageddon. You know what I'm saying? Alright.
For you, in fact, coming up next up.
And now for another episode of POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies.
What's up? What's going on?
Craziness, Trump.
All day long.
Well, I'll tell you what isn't up, his staff. That number is definitely down.
I know another thing that's not up, the amount of diplomats or ambassadors in Russia.
Yeah, that's like a whole episode to itself, but it's starting to get a little crazy out there. And I will say for once it's not Trump's fault, because Trump wants nothing more than to go steady with Putin, but Congress is not letting him.
I wanted to say some more stuff that wasn't up. Can we finish that list real quick? Like a talk show. I know what else isn't up. Trump's favorite poll gave him the lowest rating of its entire existence for a president.
Hey, let's throw in applause right there. Woo!
It's not that we want the president to fail because he's not our guy. We want the president to fail because he wants to kill us all. So, and his approval rating is pretty much reflecting that.
I know what else is not up is the fact that Scaramucci, or whatever his name is out of there like swimwear.
I would say one thing. If this was Goodfellas, they would have brought Scaramucci out to the cornfield and just beat him with bats and just buried him alive. But luckily for him, it's the White House, so it's not quite that bad.
but really though, is it? Because I don't put nothing past any administration, but especially this one. Just saying. I wouldn't be surprised if we just pop up missing all of a sudden.
The Mooch? Nah, he'll be okay. He will definitely be okay.
He didn't fuck up enough, basically. Got it. Okay.
You know what? I guess I'll start with that. The Mooch is on the loose. As we just mentioned, Anthony Scaramucci has been let go by the White House after only 11 days. In that time, Sean Spicer quit, Reince Priebus was forced out, and Scaramucci's wife filed for divorce while she was 9 months pregnant. He had one profanity-laced tirade after another. He was a complete and total failure. So he was a perfect fit for the Trump White House. And, of course, their dear leader, the great pumpkin, Donald Trump. We're taking bets. Who's going to be the next to go? I know Sessions is the safe bet, but who do you think is going to be next to go in the Trump White House?
Trump.
If only, man. If only.
Where's Punjab? She's been kind of quiet. I don't mean to talk her up, but where is she?
She's like Candyman. You saw her talking about her, then she'll be on CNN pissing off Anderson Cooper. But nah, she's
I'm gonna put it on her. She's been really quiet. I don't know. Maybe it'll be her.
No, she's way too loyal.
Sorry, that's incorrect.
She's way too loyal.
I don't know.
When Spicer lies, you could see it eating at his soul. With Kellyanne Conjob, it's basically she has no soul, so it just doesn't really affect her.
Women are better liars than men. Just here to tell you, it's a fact.
Ain't that
it's a fact. That's
I
true.
wanted to dispute that, and it was like,
nah, ain't no way you could dispute that. Trust me, dog. I done been with more married women than I've been with single ones. Gee whiz. And some of the marriages are still going strong, you know what I'm saying? How you pull that off? You know what I'm saying? I cheat one time and get caught out, you know what I mean?
But
saying all the ones that do that barking, they're usually the ones, you know, hiding their true feelings.
I got some quick hits I want to get past while I got audio on the line here. I know this is not exactly politics, but I thought this was actually pretty funny. There was an article in Men's Health magazine. They are selling in these catalogs, they're selling mini flamethrowers that Chinese women could keep in their purses. And they actually look like little lightsabers, and they spit flame. And some of them spit flame as far as 20 feet. And they use this to ward off creeps, like people who approach them in the street and stuff like that. And they're using these little flamethrowers to keep the perverts away. What in the hell is going on in China that women need little flamethrowers to keep men away? They said,
I can tell you, I can let you know right now. Where China fucked up is they started giving the females away. Remember when they had like all these American couples adopting the little girls because they were being overpopulated and they kept all the men? So now there's probably like not enough females to fuck, so they really like wilding the fuck out. It's like the Wild Wild West. That's what's happening.
I've been on a Chinese subway train before, and it is so tight. Even though you can even feel the men's genitals against you as a male. It's just that tight. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of groping be going on. You can go to Pornhub.com and look up groping, and you're mainly going to see Chinese videos. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
What?
And, I mean, I'm not an expert on Pornhub or anything. I'm just saying.
Right. But
I mean, I was on Pornhub. I didn't see those videos, but then I didn't search for them either. But
you probably don't search for groping. See, groping is you know, its own category. Yeah. You probably was looking for girl on girl or something. You know what I mean?
If you don't get the hell out of here.
But the funny part about that article to me is at the end they said the Chinese police are like, please don't buy those because they're illegal. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, so you just totally disregarded the groping part. Got it. Y'all ain't coming up with no plan of action to handle the gropers.
Well, okay. They have a plan of action. Arm the women with flamethrowers.
I would love to get one of those just to be at the beach and just play with it. You know what I'm saying?
They had a debate, Tommy Lauren versus Chelsea Handler, and they had all these different debates between all these progressives and conservatives. So they had like Anna Kasparian from Young Turks versus Ann Coulter, so on and so forth. And in
Politicon, that's Politicon.
Thank you. And in the one between Tommy Lauren and Chelsea Handler, Tommy Lauren made the mistake of telling people that even though she spent like 8 minutes bashing Obamacare, then she tells people, yeah, I'm 24, I'm still on my parents' insurance, which is a major provision of Obamacare, that people could stay on their parents'
major provision.
She caught holding
until you were 26.
They booed her for that.
Firing was not law.
First of all, Tommy Lauren is worth like $3 million. Why is she on her parents' insurance?
Damn, for real.
Why aren't her parents on her insurance? Why does she still feel the need to not have her own health insurance?
Because because Trumpcare doesn't allow her parents to be on her and stuff.
Trumpcare doesn't allow for anybody to be on anything.
Hold on, right. This girl, 24 years old and worth $3 million. What does she do?
She's a conservative troll.
Well, I need to be one of those.
Blonde automaton on. She was on. Well, she got kicked off of the Blaze. But who's
giving her work now?
She still has her website and stuff like that. So, but yeah, she's worth $3 million so far, and I'm just like.
They actually created a fictional character on being Mary Jane based on Tommy Lauren. I don't know. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on our other show, but that shit was hella entertaining. The fact that they modeled this character after, I definitely recognized. I was like, oh, this is about to be a Tommy Lauren situation.
So, and then one more quick hit before we get to the meat and potatoes. When people talk about government oversight, right? And they were like, well, they need to just let we don't need too much government oversight and all this other stuff. There's a story that came out in Axios last week. Basically, the Pentagon sold $1.2 million worth of weapons to fake cops. So basically, there is a branch, an office in the government called the Government Accountability Office, and they audit other federal agencies to uncover instances of fraud and abuse. They set up an undercover operation to determine whether the Department of Defense would sell military-grade equipment to unauthorized buyers per the Marshall Project. That was a Clinton-era program that allowed unused military gear to be sold to police stations. So long story short, they created a fake law enforcement agency. They gave them a fake website. They claimed that they did counterterrorism work. Their address was a parking lot.
I guarantee you that they probably didn't even have to do all of that because nobody went to the address, and I guarantee you nobody went to the website.
Right, and that's the thing. Even with all that obvious fakeness, they still sold them, according to Axios, $1.2 million worth of night vision goggles, M162A rifles, and pipe bomb equipment. Why are you selling police stations pipe bomb equipment? What are they, like a bunch of Unabombers? Why are they? That doesn't make any sense. But they said it was basically like getting the stuff off of eBay, according to the article. So they basically, nobody went out there and checked it out. No one did any search, and they were like, oh, you got the money? Well, here goes your weapons. So when they say, they need to just let people be, that's that libertarian horseshit. I crack on libertarians all the time, and this has nothing to do with libertarians. They just kind of pop into my mind. With libertarians, when they talk about social issues, I'm
Republican.
Well, in this case, I'm with them when it comes to talk about libertarians with social issues, because with them and progressives, they're pretty much in step. But when they start talking about economic issues, when they start talking that goofy shit like, well, why do we need to pay for roads? That's where we're just like, okay, you stay over there. So Republicans do it because their donors tell them to. Libertarians do it because that's what they believe. But I mean, libertarians are people like, well, we don't want the government all in our business, but you can't let the government just do what it wants to. You got to have those checks and balances, or else, what if they sold it to a militant group who were a bunch of racists and used that stuff to go out and just kill innocent people? Or a militant group who hated cops and just went around just shooting cops with military-grade assault rifles. So they got to think about it like that, But anyway, well, at least if they get shot, they'll have Obamacare. Let's talk about Obamacare. my horrible, clumsy segue. Put it like this: support for Obamacare right now is at 51%. That's higher than it's ever been. That's higher than when Obama himself was in office.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
The bill that died after being drowned in the Senate toilet, that bill was 17%. At its highest polling, was 17% for Trumpcare, and especially for the skinny repeal that they called it. There is no state in the union that had majority support for that bill. So there's no state where there was at least 50% of the people who liked that bill. And depending on the version of that bill, because they had different versions of it, the CBO estimated anywhere between 17 to 26 million people would have been kicked off their health care. And you have people like Paul Ryan saying, well, now it's because they have freedom and more choices. No, they won't have a choice because they won't be able to afford it. You understand? But I will say this. They made a big deal about John McCain. I know I did, because when he came in and voted to have that thing advanced, I was ragged on him big time. And then he came in at the last minute, like Sir Lancelot, and just cast that vote.
The Maverick. He came in like the Maverick.
Yeah, just like the Maverick. There was a video that was out where they put that vote to WWE commentary. And then J.R. Russell was like, Don't do it, John. Don't do it. The thumbs down. Oh, he broke him in half.
I was wondering if he was going to do it or not. I really was.
I was not expecting that. I really wasn't.
I was the worst case scenario.
Yeah. So, the real heroes of this thing, I mean, John McCain was a deciding vote, but the real heroes are Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, because they were the Republicans who were against this thing from the beginning. And let me tell you what, most of what they do, I don't agree with. But you figure Maine, a lot of people are on Medicare. So if they cut Medicare, number one, it's going to kick a lot of people off Medicare, and number two, the state would have to pay for it. Right? Alaska, I don't know the stats on Alaska as far as, but still, a lot of people would have been kicked off of their health care. And they decided to just, and from the start, they were just like, look, we're not voting for this. Which put them at a disadvantage, because, I mean, without Murkowski and Collins, they could only afford to lose one more vote. If it was 50-50, Pence would just break the tie. So, and now that the skinny repeal, all that stuff is over for now, the real fight right now is to save Obamacare from sabotage. Because Trump was basically just like, look, we'll just let Obamacare fail. There's only one problem with that. Obamacare won't fail on its own. It's like that TV, it's like watching TV, and you have like everybody waiting for their grandma to die so they can get her money, but she's a tough old bird. She's got another 15 years left. So maybe they poison her little by little. Or maybe they just get mad and just push her down the steps. Who knows? But Obamacare will not fail on its own. So they have to do something to kill it. They can't, it won't die on its own. So that's what we got to watch out for, is what are they going to do to try and kill Obamacare that they haven't done already? You figure the Supreme Court tried to give it a big death blow by telling states, hey, you can opt out of Medicare expansion, right? I'm sorry, Medicaid. I always get the two mixed up. Medicare is the one for the old folks. Medicaid is the one for lower income folks. It took me a while to get that down, and I may still have it backwards. But Medicaid expansion was important because there was going to be that donut hole. So there's going to be those people who can't afford regular insurance but make too much money for Obamacare. So Medicaid expansion was supposed to sweep up most of those people and help them out. And with the states being able to opt out, what happened was you had a lot of people, like in my own state of North Carolina, you had a lot of people who fell in that donut hole. So once again, they make too much money for Obamacare, but not enough to afford actual insurance from like Blue Cross Blue Shield or something like that. And I had a guy basically tell me that, going into my next point about one of the things that got shot down before the skinny repeal got shot down was Ted Cruz wanted to introduce a bill, you know, as an amendment to Obamacare that would allow insurance companies to have substandard policies again. There's no other way to put it. A substandard policy is basically a policy that you pay and you don't get anything out of it. Unless, as they say in the old cartoons, unless you get run over by a herd of elephants during a hailstorm on the 4th of July. So it's like that. And then they say, well, you know, we could keep the Obamacare standard stuff if we could sell the substandard stuff. But here's the thing. Let's just say you go to a car dealership, and I'm making up these numbers, and you just want a regular old car, but now those same cars that used to cost $20,000, now they cost $80,000, right? So that's just a regular car. Nothing extra fancy, just a regular car. And then for $20,000, they give you a bicycle with a lawnmower engine strapped to it. Now, you won't get very far in that thing, but it's what you can afford. So if you look at, oh, okay, now I can either spend 4 times my yearly salary on a car, or I could buy this bicycle with the lawnmower engine strapped to it. Well, I can afford that, so that's what I'll do. In a simpler term, when they talk about kids from low-income places whose parents work, right? Let's say both their parents work, and they give them $10 to go get dinner, or maybe they may not have that much. Let's say they have like $5, right? If they can either go to a store and buy a salad for $6, which they can't afford, or they can go get that dollar menu, right, and get 3, maybe 4 things, not including tax. So it's basically, it's just garbage for them to even suggest that in this, and that's why that bill got shot down. But here's the petty thing about the states who didn't opt into Medicaid expansion. Basically, how it was going to work, the expansion part, was going to be for the first 2 years, the government was going to pay 100% of the Medicaid expansion. 100%. And afterwards, then they would pay 90%. So you only had to come up with that 10% of that Medicaid expansion. So that's basically, in simpler terms, I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. Like if somebody said, listen, the government's going to pay 100% of your mortgage for the first 2 years, and after that, we'll pay 90% of your mortgage. So if you were paying $1,000 a month for your mortgage, now you're only paying $100, right? Why would you not take that deal? Even if Donald Trump was offering that deal, why would you not take that deal? And we're talking about signed guarantees is going to happen. Why would you not take that deal? It was all done for political reasons. So the Democrats are going to have to keep a careful eye on the Republicans and make sure that they don't try and sabotage Obamacare, because even by White House's own standards, Obamacare is doing good. It's not doing great, but it's doing good. And it's not going to die on its own. So that's the main thing, right? Now, the whole thing with single payer is that it could definitely very well happen. Let me put it like this. There was a story that they ran on Young Turks yesterday or the day before, how we wasted like $85 million on uniforms for the Afghan army. It's the wrong camouflage. So basically, they gave them like jungle warfare uniforms to use out in the desert, which makes them stick out like sore thumbs.
Duh, we did that on purpose. Ha ha.
But the problem is, the Afghan army can't fight without us. You know, so we don't want them to fail. We want them to be able to fight on their own so we can get the hell out of Afghanistan. You know, they waste so much money. They build planes that don't fly. They build boats that capsize at the first wave. We build so many tanks they're literally rotting in the desert. They had an aerial picture of just a whole few football fields worth of tanks just sitting there in the sun, because the military tells them, look, we don't need any more tanks. We have more tanks than we could use, but they had to fulfill these bloated military contracts, so they keep building them. And after a while, they just end up selling them to other countries, whichever ones that they could actually sell. Right? But do we have the money to do single payer? Of course we do. Is it going to cost us more money in taxes? Of course it is. That's the thing that people, you know, especially Republicans, they put this thing in their head like more taxes are bad. It's not that more taxes are bad, it's how your tax money is being spent. That's the thing. So, yes, your taxes are going to go up, which means that either you're going to get less of a tax return back if you get a return, or you're going to have to pay a little bit more if you pay taxes every year. But you know what you won't have to pay? Insurance premiums and co-pays. And for medicine, you won't have to pay for any of that. And that's a huge trade-off, because you're going to... You know the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life? Fox News. You knew I was going to say that, right? When I said dumbest motherfuckers, of course it's going to be Fox News. You had Steve Ducey and that other jackass.
I thought you were going to say QVC. It has to be the worst.
But they had Steve Ducey and that other jackass that sits next to him, and whatever blonde automaton they have sitting there that day. And they were talking about the people celebrating that the skinny repeal died. So now they're sitting there like they're all mad and they're like, oh, well, yeah, great young people. Now you're going to have to pay insurance for the old people. Yeah, you've pretty much just described insurance. You just described how insurance works. So it's like, what are you talking? But there are people out there who are just, people like me and you, or who are like, yeah, well, that's how it works. The young and healthy usually pay for the old, and then when those people get old, younger people pay for them. It goes in a cycle. But then there's always going to be a couple of jackets like, yeah, I can't believe we got to pay for these old people. That's how it works. And it just amazes me, the brazen stupidity. We live in an age where you have a computer in your pocket. Google that shit. It's not that hard, people. Come on. And I work in insurance, but even if I didn't work in insurance, if someone on Fox News said that, I'm like, well, I wonder how this works. And then 10 minutes later, I'd probably have the answer. It's not that hard. But people are so reactionary, And then they go out and they keep spouting that stuff, and out of every 6 people who look at them like, yeah, well, that's how insurance works. There's going to be another one who's going to be like, yeah, I can't believe we got to pay for all, And now there's 2 of them, And then tomorrow there'll be 4 spouting that ridiculousness. But Fox News knows their audience. You had Gretchen Carlson, who basically graduated from an Ivy League college with honors, who gets on Fox News and pretends that she doesn't know how to Google stuff so she can be on the same level as her audience. And for some reason, the Fox News audience is not in on the joke, that they are the joke. So you figure there was an article that came out. It was on Young Turks, but it was in the paper too, and I felt kind of bad for the guy a little tiny bit. He was basically, it was a thread on Facebook where a guy was basically, this was, when they were still going through the whole Obamacare repeal. And this guy was ragging on people on Facebook because he was saying, like, yeah, well, you guys have Obamacare. You're going to lose your Obamacare, but guess what? I still have the ACA. And people were just like, yeah, the ACA is Obamacare. It's the same thing. And he was like, no, it's not. The ACA is what they put in place after Obamacare failed. And they were like, and you could tell by the answers that were coming back, this is on Facebook, mind you, that they weren't sure if he was serious or if he was trolling them. But no, he was serious. He did not know that Obamacare and the ACA were the same thing. And once he found
like
out,
a Trump supporter.
Yeah. And he was so embarrassed, he deleted his account.
New song.
They had a study that came out a few years back that said people who watch no news are more informed than people who watch Fox News. That's how horrible Fox News is. But the problem is, you could tell people like me and you stupid stuff, and the first thing we'll say is, that can't be right. When I posted that story on Facebook about Scaramucci's wife divorcing him, right, after only being, working for Trump for a couple of days, one of my friends admitted I had to look it up to be sure because he thought it was like The Onion or something like that. No, she left him 9 months pregnant. But that's the point. You hear something and you were like, that can't be right. I've got to look that up. But some people don't do that. They're just basically they believe whatever they're told so long as it fits their narrative. And that's dangerous when it comes to healthcare. You figure it took all this time for Obamacare to hit 51% approval. Because so long as Obama's name was attached to it, people were against it. And now that it's about to go away and they're finally finding out what it does and what it protects, now they're like, oh God, don't take our Obamacare away. Well, where was that support 5 years ago, 6 years ago? They were too busy listening to Fox News. Another major thing that we dodged a bullet on was basically pre-existing conditions. Put it like this: people love to say, I'm diabetic, I'm type 2 diabetic, And people like to say, well, it's because of your diet. Yeah, they're kind of right. Now, diabetes runs in my family. If I didn't get it now, I'd have gotten it 10 years from now. But I would have gotten it eventually. But if you're type 1 diabetic, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. It's basically your body's defenses treating your insulin and stuff like that as bad. So you need insulin to live. It's not anything that you've done. I have a friend of mine, I grew up with her back in Long Island. She's had diabetes since she was a little kid. And now she has to wear an insulin pump. And she's fit as a fiddle. All throughout high school, she was an athlete, everything. But she had type 1 diabetes. There's nothing she could do about that. So you mean to tell me that that's her fault? That she can't get insurance because of something that's not her fault? Or if you're born with MS? Or if you have sickle cell? That all of a sudden you're a bad person, you don't deserve health care? Or you have to pay through the nose for health care? Come on. That type of stuff is spoken by people who are not sick and think they'll never get sick. I wish I still had the article. The guy who was against Obamacare until he started to lose his eyesight, and then he actually got his he got insurance because of Obamacare. So if he didn't have Obamacare, he would be blind right now. And Obamacare saved his eyesight.
Well, I tell you what, if you don't like Obamacare, let me get those eyeballs.
Get some money for him on the black market.
You know what I'm saying? You know how much I can get for an eyeball right now? Come on, man.
Shoot. I wouldn't care. I'd have one blue one, one gray one. I don't care.
Hey, yeah, and
just as long as I can see.
And that gets lots of attention. I'm thinking about getting a great contact. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was in high school, I used to get the hazel ones. I tried it in college, and then everybody was like, "Oh, you gay? You got hazel?" I said, "Oh, you know, I can't rock this shit no more." You know what I'm saying? Now, anytime I see a dude with hazel eyes, I said, I hope those are his natural color eyes, because that shit has to be gay as fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, that's kind of messed up.
Hey, it's America. Trump's America.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I will say one thing, right?
This is like a fucking movie. This is fucking Dark Mirror. This is an episode of Dark Mirror. You know what I'm saying?
I've never watched that. I have it on my list. I have it on my list for Netflix. I've never gotten a chance to watch it.
You are fucking playing. Well, you know what? People tell me the same thing. You haven't watched American Horror Story yet? Nope. But Dark Mirror is the truth. It is the best. I can't think of a show that's better. You name a show, and I promise you it'll shut it down. Name a show right now.
Mr. Robot.
Shut it down.
Huh. What about Power?
Shut it down. No, real talk. I'm not trying to be funny. Let me tell you about, Mr. Robot, only because this last season isn't as good as the first season by any means. I don't care what nobody says. You know what I'm saying? Power gets weaker season after season. This is the weakest Power season ever. It's like the writers get tired. You ever notice that? In a couple of years, you know what I'm saying?
TV shows don't have that stamina anymore. If a TV show lasts 6 seasons, it's been on too long.
The most garbage show is what is it called? That black lady who fucks the president. Help me out. What's her name?
Scandal.
Oh my gosh, this last season. I don't know about this season, but the season before. Oh my God, I stopped watching it. It was so fucking crazy, off the wall garbage. It was crazy garbage. Who else is garbage right now? My favorite show that's on Fox. I used to love it. Help me out. It got that fucking dude. He thinks he's a pimp. And he got a wife named Cookie. What's that show called?
With Terrence Howard?
Yeah, that bitch motherfucker. Yeah, him.
I don't like Terrence Howard at
all.
What
is that show called, man?
Empire.
Empire. Oh my gosh, this season is the most garbage season. I stopped watching it after the second episode. It's garbage. Straight garbage.
I think what they need to do is just write 3 seasons of a show and then just be like, okay, can this go for 3 seasons and then just take it from there instead of just
Kardashians, like in its 10th season, that shit is just straight garbage.
It's a reality show, so they can.
It's a scripted reality show. Let's not pretend like it's real life, motherfucker.
Right.
Just like real life.
And that's what I'm saying. In a reality show, they don't have to do a lot. So they don't have to have depth or character or anything like that. They just have to do goofy stuff and just dig up goofy stuff for them to do. So it's not like person of interest where they have to have an actual story.
Straight garbage. That's my new word today. Garbage.
It's just garbage with an accent. Garbage.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, for real talk though. Dark Mirror, I think that's what it's called. Dark Mirror, Black Mirror, whatever. Man, that shit is the truth. So you see, the reason I like it is because each episode is its own. It's not like you have to have a continual plot.
Right.
It's like each one is its own thing, and that's the kind of shit I like. You know what I'm saying? It reminds me of Twilight Zone or Tales of the Dark Side or something like that. Right.
I saw it. You know what I'm saying? But I saw a trailer for that today. Tales from the Crypt. M. Night Shyamalan is bringing it back.
As a show or as a movie?
As a show on TNT.
Oh,
with
man. But you know what?
And everything.
Fuck that. He should have put on FX. FX got the truest shit out. Check out that FX lineup, man. You'll see some really impressive shows on there.
Yeah. But we digress.
Shit, man. Duh. Politics can only get you so far, motherfucker.
You can't do politics all day long. I'll put it like this. I wake up with it. I go to bed with it. I have to work for like
crazy.
I watch it for another hour.
If we had some highs and we had some lows, it's all crazy lows. It's crazy bananas. It's like, I feel like Stewart on Mad TV.
I gotta throw some, I do my little song lists and I do my funny videos. I can't just do politics all day long, but it's important because, I'll give you for instance, right? Foxconn, right? The people who put together the phones, right? They're trying to build a plant in Wisconsin, right? So Washington Post says that Foxconn coming to Wisconsin is a win for Scott Walker and Donald Trump. And that statement alone is why no one trusts the mainstream media and why millennials are getting their news from YouTube. Because they're touting it like it's a good thing. If the name Foxconn sounds familiar to you viewers, it's the Taiwanese death company that has Chinese citizens jumping out of buildings because of their low wages. And what did Foxconn do to remedy this when it happened in China? They put nets outside the buildings to catch jumpers. I'm not making that up to be funny. And they started piping soothing music throughout the factory to keep people calm. Now, granted, there has been pay raises over the last few years, but it's still, I call it a death company, because they just make money at other people's expense. So they put together phones for Apple, they put together stuff for Android, for Google, and they make good money doing it. So the plant that they're going to build in Wisconsin would start with about 3,000 people, and it would eventually shoot up to 13,000 people with an average pay of $53,000 a year plus benefits. Keep in mind, when they say plus benefits, that actually includes benefits. So they're not going to take home $53K a year and then have benefits. That includes benefits. I had to look at a couple of different articles to be sure of that. Because you're thinking, oh, you're getting $50,000K plus benefits? No, that includes your benefits. Okay? Now, at least they're getting health care, so that's a good thing, but, Now, here's the thing. For them to build this plant, right, Wisconsin would have to cough up $3 billion over the next 15 years in tax incentives, right? So let's do the math, right? Let's just say that everybody, because they said an average salary of $53K a year, right? Let's just say for math's sake that they get $53,000 a year. Everybody gets it. Flat $53,000.
You get 53, nigga. You get 53. No, that don't sound right. That's a lot of millions, man.
Right. But you figure 3,000 people getting $53,000 a year. That's $159 million per year. right? But if you take $3 billion and you divide it by 15 years, that's $200 million per year, right? So you figure they're going to get more in tax incentives than they're going to pay out in salaries. Now, their plan is to eventually start with 3,000 and end up with 13,000. So that would be, so if they end up with 13,000 people, and let's just say they were all getting $53,000 a year, that's $689 million, right? Which is a lot of money, but that's not how they're starting out. They're starting out with the 3,000. But you figure in 2016, Foxconn made $136 billion. So they're not just some struggling upstart company. They're a major global company. And you know how they got that money? By pulling the marrow out of their workers' bones, because most of their factories are in developing countries. So you figure...
Do the lambs still scream at the middle of the night?
Basically, you figure in... It took me a while because a lot of these articles were just garbage articles, but in one of them they said that, and this was from an article from back in 2014. So they said that in the Foxconn factories in China, they were making 1,350. It's spelled Y-U-A-N. I just called it yuan. I don't know how it's pronounced, but 1,350 yuan per month. Now, I did the conversion on that. That's $200 US a month. So you imagine you're making just enough money to live out in the streets, because you can't do anything for $200 a month, right? You figure if you have an apartment, in a one-bedroom apartment in the poor section, it'll probably cost you $500 a month. So you're going to work all month and make $200. That's not even enough for an apartment, much less for food, clothing, all that other stuff. So it's nothing. That's why these people are jumping out of buildings, right? Now, here's the thing. There was an article in Market Watch, right? They had an article about this that came out today, and they made 3 points. So bear with me on the reading here, right? They said worldwide, they said number one, right? And they said 3 reasons why Wisconsin taxpayers should question the deal for Foxconn. They said number one, worldwide, Foxconn sold about $136 billion in goods last year while employing 1.3 million workers. That translates into labor productivity of about $105,000 per worker, which is pretty good, given that most of the Foxconn factories are in developing countries. But by American standards, that is shitty. They didn't use the word shitty in the article. I said that. By comparison, on a per worker basis, Walmart sells about twice that value of goods each year. And moreover, Wisconsin-based Harley-Davidson reported sales of $970,000 per worker in its most recent report. So how can Foxconn, which has a profit rate at nearly double Walmart's, going to remain profitable, paying workers close to 3 times the wage for a Walmart worker and only produce half as much, right? And 2 and 3 real quick. What I touched on before, Foxconn is going to create 3,000 jobs paying a little over $53,000 a year, 50 cents on an hour higher than the average wage in Wisconsin, right? So these jobs aren't attractive enough to really get people, right? And then last but not least, the tax break, right? Real quick, the state of Wisconsin, which has had a series of high-profile budget battles over the past few years, they're promising a $3 billion incentive package, right? So to make a long story short, they're going to pay $54,000 a year, just about, right? But those tax breaks are going to be worth about $66,000 per employee. So basically, the burden of paying these Foxconn employees is going to fall on the taxpayers. So at least with Walmart, they're subsidizing it But at the same time, in this case, the taxpayers are going to be paying for it. So Foxconn would be paying no money in wages. It would all come back in tax breaks. So any other governor would look at this and be like, get the fuck out of here, man. They'd be like, get out of my office.
Get out of here, buddy.
But Scott Walker is just like, because he just likes how it makes him look. Because now he can tell his people, look, I'm bringing jobs to Wisconsin. Because he has a 48% jobs approval rating. So he wants to do something to push him over that 50%. But that what he's going to do to push him over the 50% is basically going to be a burden on taxpayers. So when the Washington Post calls this a win for Scott Walker, I'm like, what are you talking about? What numbers are you looking at? This is going to be horrible for Wisconsin. Because basically the taxpayers are going, it's going to cost them about $1,200 per household for this deal. For 3,000 jobs.
3,000 jobs?
Yeah, to a company that's not going to pay any taxes.
Must be
It's
nice.
like when they get people to build stadiums. And these people have the money to build stadiums, but they make the taxpayers pay for it all. And you think they're going to get a cut of those concessions or those tickets? No. It all goes to the owners. But, of course, Scott Walker's going to do it because he's Scott Walker. Right? You figure people like that get rewarded all the time. You figure Sam Brownback ruined Kansas, destroyed Kansas' budget, and now Sam Brownback is about to get a job at the White House. Whatever happened to the days when people who did good got rewarded? But, Lou, did you have any final thoughts?
You hit me with a lot, you know what I mean? It's a crazy day.
I had more Trump stuff, but I saw that story come out, and I was just like, that's kind of, that's kind of messed up. And the fact that the first article I saw was Washington Post was just like, no, that can't be right.
Right.
And I know the Post is a respected newspaper and all that, but their whole sunny side up attitude toward the whole thing is just ridiculous, because if you look at the numbers, it just doesn't add up. It's just not a good deal. So, but I know, people have their bracket for the White House, who's going to go next, and I know Scaramucci was a bracket buster because nobody thought he was going to go out until like at least Labor Day. They thought Jeff Sessions was going out first, so Scaramucci was the bracket buster. How horrible is it when America is treating the White House like Survivor? Like every week someone else is getting the axe. So, but we just got to keep telling it like it is, and just letting people know. And I know to most people we're preaching to the choir, but at least if you have a good argument, you can tell your Trump friends why their vote is killing all of us.
Cool.
So, but I know I threw a lot at you, Blue, but any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
2018. We always say, on our other channel we were on, we always say look to 2018 to make the change. But as you mentioned in a previous episode, I'm not sure if it was the last one or one before that, that the Democrats ain't giving us nothing to want to vote for or even galvanizing us enough to make the change. The Republicans are doing enough, but yet the Democrats ain't making enough noise for us to be like, oh, I'm going to vote for such and such to elicit that change. It's like we don't have no real contenders. It's almost like as fucked up and messed up the Republican Party is, the Democrat Party just seems to still be like, dazed and awed by the fact that the Republicans won and Trump is in office. It's like they can't even make a move. They're dumbfounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the thing is, if the Democrats are still trying to please the people and please their donors all at the same time, And that's going to be a losing proposition because we see them. The progressives aren't going to vote for another stooge because they've already proven that they'll pull the trigger when they didn't vote for Hillary, you know. And you figure 9% of registered Democrats, 9% voted for Trump in the last election. So it just goes to show you how horrible a candidate Hillary was, you know. And it looks like they're going to do it again with Kamala Harris. And I mean, as a lawmaker, she doesn't really have anything in her record. But when she was, who was she, Attorney General of California? Yeah. When she let Steve Mnuchin do whatever he wanted and get out, Steve Mnuchin should be in prison. Let me just make a long story short. And Kamala Harris pretty much let him go, which is probably why the establishment loves her so much and they want to push her to be the next candidate. If she's going to go up against Trump, we've already lost. Only hope is that Bernie runs as an independent. So, but that's all I had for now.
That's enough, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, and that concludes another episode of POLI-TRICKS with Mercer Prescott and his band of eclectic cronies. Tune in via Google Play Podcast, iTunes Podcast, or if you have an Amazon Alexa product using the podcast premiere radio show. Damn it, I done forgot the name of the damn thing. I'm gonna have to get with you. It's a major player. We got approved to be a podcast for them, and they're major. And I can't even think of the name right now. All right, so the show is underneath the moniker The Urban Breakdown. Current shows on The Urban Breakdown is POLI-TRICKS and 360 Degrees. Check out 360 Degrees via the same podcast. That's Google Play Podcast, iTunes Play Store Podcast, and man, I forgot who the new contender is. Oh man, it was just such a breakthrough that we even got approved by them because they only fucking with the big willers. But apparently my write-up was really good. But okay. All right, and that concludes the episode. All right.
I can't take no more chances, I know it. Please just tell me, be your man and I do it. All I need is a chance and I'll prove it. All I do is for you. Do is for you, this
First
for
things
you.
first, I will not fade for nothing. I did not change for nothing. I will not go without putting up a fight till they put me in the grave. I'm busting. You ain't leave yet and I'm lucky. Give me the chance and I show why I know you could trust me. You said you can't and it cut me. I'll do what I can. I just can't let you leave so abruptly. Girl, can you love me? Girl, can you love me? Please do not put all that heartache above me. I know I play with your heart like a dummy. I should have changed from the start. Now it's ugly. I never wanted you more than right now. Please don't leave me on the road to recovery. I blame you for nothing but holding me down, being benevolent, honest, and lovely. And I cannot take no more chances, I knew it. You gave me the chance and I blew it. Who thought you the one I would do it to? I cannot win if I'm losing you. I knew that I shouldn't believe them. These devils and demons and heathens told me the fruit was for eating. Why did I eat it? Why did I eat it? Girl, you my eating. So please do not tell me you leaving. I gotta wake up cause I must be dreaming. Lord, can you save me? I'm begging and pleading. Jesus, I'm bleeding. Give me the chance and I promise you'll see. I'll be the man that you knew I could be.
I can't take no more chances, I know it. Please just tell me, be your man and I do it. All I need is a chance and I'll prove it. All I do is for you, all I do is for you. I can't take no more chances, I know it. Please just tell me, be your man and I do it. All I need is a chance and I'll prove it. All I do is for you, all I do is for you, this for you. And all you needed was for me to hold you down. I know I left you, baby girl, let you down. But please don't walk away from me, just turn around. And I'ma prove it to you right here and now. And all I'm asking is for you to hear me out. I know you can't believe what's coming Please don't do that, baby girl, don't shut me out. I just need this last chance so I could break it down. No, I've been shady to you. No, I've been saving the truth. Playing these games, but I'm through. I'm a new man and I hope I can make a debut. I'll go insane without you. Ain't been the same without you. Trust what I'm saying to you. So here's what I came to do. Pour out my soul in this booth. I'm crying for you. Baby, I'm giving you all of my effort. Girl, you know that I want this forever. My promise to you was I'll never take you for granted, you're special. I can't take no more chances, I knew it. Please just tell me, be your man and I'll do it. Girl, I need one more chance and I'll prove it. All I do is for you, all I do is for you. I can't take no more chances, I know it. Please just tell me, be your man and I'll do it. Girl, I need one more chance and I'll prove it. All I do is for you, all I do